So we're gonna go through the steps for planning our Zentangle compositions. So whenever we are planning an artwork or a composition, we do so in the form of thumbnails. Thumbnails are smaller plans for an artwork. So there are mini sketches, smaller, simplified plans for a larger, bigger artwork. So I'm gonna go through the steps and what I think about when I'm planning an artwork that will end up being a Zentangle. A Zentangle is a artwork that is made up of patterns and values and contrast. So first things first, I'm using an ink pen, but only so it shows up well on the video. You need to be doing this in pencil. You can use the graphite pencils that you have, or any mechanical pencil is fine. But we want to plan lightly. We don't want to push really hard because we might want to erase or change things, or if you have a composition that's off balance or the focal point is not in a good place, like it's in the center or in a very, very corner. Then I'm going to want you to erase it, and if you push really hard, then we can't erase it, and then our thumbnails are ugly. And also it's good practice to be able to draw lightly. When we get to our observational drawing unit, you're going to have to be able to control your pencil pressure, so make sure you get in good practice of that. So I'm going to go through, and you can follow along with me. I want you to write the steps down in your sketchbook, as well as do a practice thumbnail with me. So I'm going to do the rules here, and then I'm going to draw my thumbnail out here. So first, use a pencil. Okay, very important. Get your ruler and create a 4 by 6 inch rectangle in your sketchbook. Okay, ruler, 4 by 6. These are requirements, okay? Do not freehand it and do not guess. Actually use a ruler and measure. Now, you can do this, you can turn your sketchbook the other way and you can fit 2 on here for the sake of the video. I'm just gonna do it this way. So 4 inches down, 6 inches across. I'm using a giant ruler, so I'm gonna start here at the 10. So 6 inches across to the 16. Up here as well. And then it should be another 4 inches down. Okay, once again, this is non-negotiable. Use a ruler. Okay, 6 inches by 4 inches. Okay, that's our rectangle. So that's the very first step, just to even get our plans. It's planning to plan. Okay, so for step 1, when we are beginning to plan a composition, is to focus on the rule of thirds. Okay, the rule of thirds says that if we divide a composition into thirds, where those lines cross is where our focal point should be. So a helpful tip, and what I want you to do at this part, is very, 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 very lightly in pencil draw the rule of thirds grid on your thumbnail. So 6 inches across divided by 3 is 2 inches. So that one's really easy. Can make little marks. Now, if you can eyeball it accurately, then you can eyeball these lines. But if you cannot eyeball it accurately, then just measure. Okay, it takes 2 extra seconds, and Those 2 extra seconds of effort are what I need to make sure you're a strong artist. So for 4 inches divided by 3, it's going to be 1 inch and 1/3 of an inch. So the easy way to do this is to go 1 inch and then 1/3 of an inch about right here, and then go up this way. 1 inch, about 1/3 of an inch right here. So that should be good. Now I can measure my other side and use a ruler to draw them straight across. If you can freehand them straight, then fine. Now, your compositions can go either way. So they can be horizontal like this, or they can be vertical. So when you're planning, you can think about them either way, but for the video, I'm gonna do it this way. So really lightly. These lines are not part of the artwork. They're just guidelines for our planning purposes. And now we're gonna decide where we want the focal point of our composition to be. And we know that the rule of thirds means it needs to be at one of those 4 points, not in the center and not close to the edge. So the focal point is the area of emphasis. So basically you're asking, where do you want me to look? Okay, when I look at your composition, where do you want me to look first? You're gonna make that area more visually interesting than the rest. Once you decide, you're gonna lay shapes or lines to draw attention to that point. Okay, so I'm gonna choose this area, okay? Let's go with this. This is gonna be where my focal point is. Now, I would stay in pencil if I were you. Don't do this in ink, but for the video so you can see it. So I'm gonna decide that most of my Zentangle is gonna be circles with little circles on top of them that are off center. So it's gonna kind of look like olives or kind of janky donuts. And I'm gonna layer them on top. I'm gonna overlap them and layer them on top of each other. Remember, I don't wanna have them kissing. I want them actually overlapping. So maybe that is my area. It kind of looks like a Mickey Mouse head. So maybe I'll add another one, little one up there to make it look a little less like Mickey Mouse. So this is my area for my focal point, okay? That's the end of step 1. Deciding where your focal point is and then drawing it down. Step 2, we're gonna focus on the 3 quadrant rule. Okay, the 3 quadrant rule is about unity, creating that sense of wholeness and oneness. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna repeat similar shapes and or lines that we use to create our focal point throughout, excuse my mess up, throughout the picture plane. And we're gonna have them be in at least 3 quadrants. So if you want now, you can erase your rule of thirds grid. Remember, this is not part of your artwork. It's just a guideline to tell us where that should be, where our focal point should be. And then I might draw my 3 quadrant rule now. So now that's just a big plus sign over my artwork, and it says I need to have these shapes in at least 3 out of the 4 quadrants, if not more. I'm gonna go ahead and put them in all the quadrants because I don't want to use too many shapes, too many different kinds of shapes. We have a big one up here, maybe an even bigger one over here. I want to think about overlapping and tilting as well while I do this. Now, it would probably be smart of me to use, like, trace things that are actual circles. You guys are going to do this in pencil, so if you make an ugly circle, that's actually an oval or a blob, you know, fix it. Shouldn't leave things that you know are incorrect or wrong. Maybe another little tiny guy right there. The one behind him. Okay, so now I have those elements in all 4 quadrants. So now I have unity in my composition because I've repeated those elements. And now I can erase that grid. Not giving my ink much time to dry, so I'm trying not to smear anything. While you're thinking about this rule, I want you to remember to overlap and tilt and rotate things. Okay, remember to avoid kissing. We want things to be actually overlapped. We don't want them to just be touching in at one point. Step 3. We're going to focus on breaking the picture plane. Okay, and that is done by hanging shapes and or lines off the edge of the thumbnail. So these ones we want to go all the way off the screen. It's not screen, sorry. All the way off the edge of the paper. So I'm going to even kind of hang those off so you can tell which ones are actually breaking the picture plane. That's not so great, but whatever. Now I just made that hollow. So I have these areas that kind of cut. I don't know if that was a big circle. Could be anywhere on there. Maybe I have another one. Okay, so what I'm thinking now, here's why I'm hesitant. I know that for a Zentangle, I'm going to fill these areas with patterns. I'm going to take these shapes, all these areas, and fill them with different patterns. Some are going to be dark patterns, some are going to be light patterns, some are going to be in the middle. And this area right now, where I have my whole background, is a huge area. And for that to be filled with one pattern, that would be boring to look at. So I'm kind of deciding, okay, how can I break that space up without doing something weird? And that's kind of weird, but whatever. And I want to think about maintaining my focal point. I don't want to make it too busy to distract it away. It's kind of getting too busy over here. So maybe I'm going to bring some more shapes over here to kind of attract the viewer's eye. Maybe I'd erase that. And so this one would be on top. So I want to keep my compositions unified and strong. But I also want to have a little bit of variety inside them. So things that are different shapes, different sizes. And then later I'm going to be able to decide, okay, this is going to be a dark pattern, light pattern, medium pattern. Once you get the hang of this, so once you do this with me on the video, I want these written down in your sketchbook, so you have the steps written. And then I want you to go ahead and make at least 4 thumbnails, okay, that follow these rules of composition and that are 4 by 6 inches, okay, at least 4 thumbnails, 2 on a page. Okay, then once you have all 4 done, you're going to upload pictures and submit them, and we're going to discuss the composition about them. You should be able to explain how they meet those rules, the rule of thirds, the 3-quadrant rule, and breaking the picture plane, or you should be able to explain how they don't meet those rules. But remember, we're trying to make strong compositions here. Email me if you have any questions.